What is a man but a miserable pile of secrets? No, but seriously, what is a man? Is it an adult human male? Sure. But what is a man? What makes someone a man? Penises, of course, right? Testicles, healthy flow of testosterone. But what makes someone a man? You guys all know the question that I'm actually asking you, right? I'm not asking biologically for your chromosomes and all that goodness. I'm not asking about your testosterone levels. I'm asking colloquially, societally, philosophically, what makes a man? I mean, we talk about all the ways men aren't men. How does that make sense? We talk about all the ways that men aren't men. Men being the biological males of the human species, but men aren't men. What is that? What is the other definition of what it means to be a man? I find it particularly interesting that it is that definition that eludes us so. We all know what it is, but no one ever actually says it. Because think about it, we all have got multiple different forms of definitions for it. You've got the Andrew Tates, the Fresh and Fits, the Hamzas. Physically imposing, dominant men who are ambitious and strive for success. Much to the chagrin of the types of ladies that they're with. They usually have a lot of control, reckless abandon, not too much consideration for the women they have in their lives. That also kind of works towards what maketh the man. Which I find it particularly interesting that is oftentimes our standard of man. But if that be the case, then how do we have families? How do we have fathers? If being a man is what Hamza shows us, Andrew Tate shows us, Myron and Walter shows us, where are our fathers? And then you would have to ask another important question. Why aren't they fathers? You know, the conversation of what maketh man is a rather interesting one to me. Because oftentimes when I see lost boys on the internet, that is typically what they gravitate to. And the reason why they gravitate to it is rather simple. There's two reasons. One, they never had a dominant father figure in their life to begin with, to really even show them or give them some type of criterion of what it means to be a man. And for two, they're oftentimes soft, emotional boys. Lots of emotional instability. Oftentimes they're downtrodden, put down, disenfranchised in one way or another. Skinny, maybe somewhat effeminate. There's lots of different, you could say, character traits or lots of different assumptions I can make. But typically, the young men that do find themselves funneling up or seeking after this, dare I would say, toxic masculinity, oftentimes are sad, weak individuals that didn't have strong fathers in their lives. You know, the thing that's interesting about the concept of toxic masculinity is there is a huge, dare I would say, fundamental misunderstanding of the concept in general. From the anti-feminists who speak it, and oftentimes maybe from the feminist and liberal women that like to use it, and also liberal males as well, the bread tubers. Because I do think they're right that there is a form of, you would say, toxic masculinity. Not that being masculine is toxic. I mean, what does that even mean? But that there is a way, or there are behaviors that males have that aren't oftentimes conducive to them or to having strong and good relationships. That's kind of always what they've been referring to. I think the problem is they're so outrageous and silly that it's hard to take into consideration what these people are saying, but they do have a point. Andrew Tate not withholding. I mean, Andrew Tate says some really great things, lots of things that make sense, but his character, his betrayal, and some of his ideas are just stupid and just kind of chock full of just nonsense that can only really be applied if you have a bunch of money and you're somewhat psychopathic. you somewhat have to have a less regard for other people around you. And you have to always be belittling people around you in order to make yourself look good. That's kind of a huge chunk of Andrew Tate's entire presentation from what I've seen. But that's what's interesting to me. Because to me, and that's what's funny, to me, that's not what makes a man a man. To me, what always made a man was someone who was righteous, someone who's upstanding, someone who fights for others, that helps others, that does all that he can to make his life, the life of the people around him, and maybe in general, a much better place. Oftentimes, very idealistically and heroically, sure, but a man is someone who strives for the ideal, perhaps failing, but strives for it. But then, how is it that what Andrew Tate believes maketh man, and what I maketh man, be totally different, at odds with each other, as one would say? I think the reason why is because there is a huge hole in absence, generally, socially, as to what makes a man a man. So much so that you even have, as I've seen a couple of different bread tubers who want to criticize the manosphere, always want to break down the very concept of what maketh man at all. So much so that they will wear makeup, they'll paint their nails, they'll grow their hair out long, permanent or whatnot, try to look pretty, I say for lack of a better word. Try to aesthetically or move towards a more metral or androgynous form, try to look more feminine, to challenge the notion, the ideals of what it means to be a man. So you have all these different areas, and I honestly feel like I'm just kind of in my own little corner. A man, one of who has honor and integrity and fights for the good of people. I mean, this heroic ideal. I feel like I'm the only one who would say that maketh man. Whereas everyone else I see in these two factions are what maketh man is someone who is more emotional, someone more receptive, someone more open to the ideals of women, that more, for lack of a better term, liberal new male type of thing. The new male that will allow his lady to have sex with other men on OnlyFans sometimes, or just they do that. Just even the presence of having an OnlyFans to entertain other lonely dudes kind of is his own thing, but save that topic for another time. But that new male, that more passive, weak-willed male, the ones who are skinny, somewhat effeminate, their voices aren't that deep. I mean, look, my voice ain't that deep, but I mean, some of their other voices are a little bit nasally too. You guys know the type of male I am referring to because you've seen them ad nauseum. Those type of men that wish to tear down the very concept of what it means to be a man. Why? Because they failed at it. They failed at adhering to what maketh man. But what does maketh man? Are they trying to tear down the concept because they don't have honor and they don't have integrity? I mean, oftentimes they don't, but that's not really what really bothered them. Of course, what really bothered them was the fact that they couldn't be like Andrew Tate. What Hamza strove to be like, which I know a lot of you guys really like Hamza. What Hamza strove to be like, physically fit, strong, dominant, having lots of money and control, his ease of being able to have sex with numerous women, that is what maketh man. And that is what he strove for and obtained. But even Hamza, if you listen to him, found that once he obtained that goal, he oftentimes found himself hollow, slacking, no longer feeling the drive or need to continue to strive for this stuff. Because it was always hollow. But rather than acknowledging the fact that it was always hollow, Hamza decides that he just needs to jump back on the horse and keep going and keep striving and keep gaining more stuff. Not ever realizing that what he was actually seeking for, trying to be a man, maybe wasn't a really good standard at all. Without diving too much into the history of Hamza, he didn't really have the best father figure that really showed and reflected strength and masculinity in an appropriate way to help him develop into, honestly, a very confident young man. I mean, you see with Hamza a lot of the time that he's actually very insecure. The numerous videos he made about the fact that his testosterone needed to be rebalanced or rebrought up, I think kind of reflects anything. I think if you care about the fact that your testosterone is low, that might actually be the indication your testosterone is low. Because honestly, it's not even testosterone that maketh man. I mean, of course, biologically it does, right? But, again, you know that's not what I'm talking about. The struggle of trying to have power, dominance, and control is a very interesting one, but I don't actually think it was something that most men strove for, even throughout time immemorial. I mean, of course, there were men who strove for that. I mean, Napoleon Bonaparte, Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar. There's numerous different examples of man who fought and had control of other man in order to conquer great lands, explore other worlds, enslave people. I mean, sure, that's true, but how many of those men we've written down in history really reflect the average man that worked, that protected, that loved? And they aren't really the ones we focus too much in the annals of history and time, obviously, because they didn't really have the greatest of discoveries. But the question is, why is not what maketh man a father? You guys ever notice that Andrew Tate's, for all of his bloviation, even for Hamza and all the things he says, and Fresh and Fit and Myron, that what maketh man is not having children you love and you fight to protect, and wisdom that you impart upon them. Because the idea of even trying to have a family with a lot of modern women is actually really difficult. But you'll notice again that these men don't strive for that. And I would imagine partly because they probably didn't have strong male role models in their lives or a strong father in their life. Because unlike, I think, a lot of young men who follow these guys, and I don't say this to be mean, but to be honest, I had a dad. And my dad didn't act like Andrew Tate. And he didn't act like Hamza. And he didn't act like Myron. My dad could be goofy sometimes. He could be really serious sometimes. He could teach me a lot of different things. He was very, very smart. One of the smartest people I ever met. And wise beyond reason, at least to me. To me, my dad was Superman. Being like him was one of the most important things. To me. And I think that's why I've always been able to kind of avoid the whole toxic masculinity thing. And I think it's part of the reason why I've never had to wonder or worry what maketh man. Because I had a father who showed me what maketh a man. I had someone who taught me wrong from right, who would have Bible study with me and my siblings. Someone who taught me the importance of having honor and integrity. Someone who taught me the importance of maintaining yourself, character-wise, withholding with anything else. Someone who could criticize me when I need to be criticized. And someone who would praise me when I needed some praise. Even sometimes when I didn't. But just to direct me into doing what's right. I had that. And I think that it is that lack of that, which is why I fight so hard to make sure that you, individual watching my video, continue to maintain and actually have loving, strong relationships with women. And so if you have children, your children do not experience what you probably, honestly, have. And that huge lack of having that father in your life that will give you those things and protect you from this question. And that question being, what maketh a man? I had that. A lot of you guys didn't. And that's why I can see you all struggle. A lot. That's why I can see the new male struggle in trying to maintain a relationship with a woman that doesn't actually respect him as she shakes her butt cheeks for other men on the internet. And I can see the struggle with other men who have to buy courses into learning masculinity and learn how to create multiple different income streams on the internet. And then work out hard and get really big super muscles so they look good. I can see. And I can understand why. Because all of you are trying to answer an important question. And I keep asking that same question. What maketh man? What makes you a man? And for me, my answer is rather clear, rather obvious, and really simple. It's technically speaking not even necessarily even a value judgment or a moral judgment. One who adheres to his principles, who is strong and thinks critically about his life. I mean, I could sprinkle a whole bunch of really great things about what being a man is. But mostly, I would say it's someone who maintains honor and integrity to a code of conduct. What that code of conduct is could be good or it could be evil. But I think that the most I've ever respected any man is his ability to maintain himself, even in the face of argument, in the face of heat, in the face of dire consequences. That tenacity, that headstrongness to deal with danger or to deal with what is uncomfortable and come out on top, or even just endure and withstand it, is what I've always respected, what I've always would grant an individual the title of man. One who can withstand. Now, of course, again, maybe I'm just being really flowery, idealistic, believing man to be more heroic than they really are. Because to be fair, there's lots of villainous males and men in the world. But I do think that at some point in time, whether my definition is wrong, we really need to start evaluating whether Andrew or Hamza's definition is right. And we really need to start analyzing whether the new male definition of allowing anyone to come bend you over and have your wife watch or be bent over by your wife, or having you watch someone else bend your wife over, probably also should not be respected. I don't know if I'm right about what maketh a man. But what I can most certainly say is I don't think Andrew, Hamza, Fresh and Fit, or the new males over in BreadTube are right either. There has to be, at some point in time, where we can honestly address this question and really figure out what are the character traits that can make us good at being a man. Or what does it really mean to be a man? Because I don't think a man is someone who takes pride in his ability to disrespect women. But I also don't think a man is an individual that takes pride in the fact that he's being disrespected by women. I think somewhere there's probably some middle ground where we can love the other half of our fucking species without being disrespected and mistreated like garbage by that same half, for one. And for two, I'm pretty sure there's somehow we can figure out that maybe being a man isn't always about your money, or maybe it's not always about your ability to produce. Maybe it's about the things that you can do for other people. Who knows? But what I do know is, once again, we do have to do something. Because all these young men following the path of, I guess, this prosperity preaching isn't going to get them in a happy place. Perhaps temporarily, maybe even economically. But mentally and emotionally, it seems to never actually work out well for them. And also, another thing that I keep seeing is that young men who throw the whole concept out entirely also oftentimes don't find themselves in a happy place either. So I think, at some point, the man-nosphere needs to legitimately tackle what maketh man. So that being said, I hope you guys got something out of today's video. I doubt it. But if you did, go and click the like button. Shoot, go and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. And as always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.